is a constitutional law attorney, former senior legal advisor and personal counsel to President Donald J. Trump. Jenna Ellis believes in the rule of law and the importance of integrity in our elections. And she's ready to tackle the big cultural and legal issues facing America. This is the Jenna Ellis Show. Here is your host, Jenna Ellis.
Welcome back, and we are covering this morning what is going on in Israel and the atrocity of this terrorism attack on Saturday morning and the ongoing conflict as Israel formally declares war on Hamas. So joining me now is my good friend Joel Rosenberg, who is the founder and editor-in-chief of All Israel News and is joining us from Jerusalem. So good morning, Joel. And first of all, are you and your family safe? And what does it look like in terms of where you are at specifically?
Yes, Jenna, sorry about that technical difficulty all the way over here in Jerusalem. Yeah, we're here in the capital. Lynn and I and our family is safe by God's grace so far. But, Jenna, we are facing the worst war in a generation here in Israel. I want to just lead with this first thought, just to give it into context, okay? The Israeli government just announced officially that we have more than 800 Israelis that have been killed in the last 72 hours. Now, that's horrific at any level, right? I mean, 800 people dying in 3 days is terrible. But remember that Israel is a small country of 10 million people. The United States is a continent with 330 million people, right? So the United States is 33 times larger than us population-wise. So imagine if you had to report to your audience, Jenna, that 26,000 Americans had died in 72 hours. That would be, 8 times worse than 9/11. Like, that's the emotional impact of what's happening here in Israel right now. And we're trying to cover it on All Israel News as journalists, but it's taking an emotional toll.
Yeah, I just can't imagine. And my pastor and I know your friend Gino Geraci is also over there. He had flown out, I believe it was Saturday morning as well. He is safe over there, but I know there are so many even tourists that are there and others that are trying to get out of the country. And we are just praying for the safety of everyone involved. And this type of perspective that you're giving in terms of a similar type of situation, if that were to happen to the United States, would just be absolutely devastating. And this also came as there was a Jewish holiday as well. And so a number of Jewish commentators over the weekend, including our good friend Ben Shapiro, have not commented on that. And what do you know about the intentionality of the attack on this specific time frame?
Yeah, let me take that in several pieces, Jenna. First, yes, I know Gino Geraci very, very well. I was supposed to meet him here in Israel, but then this war erupted, and then he decided to evacuate to Jordan. I've been texting with him in Jordan, and there was a tour group that had just arrived for me to lead them this week. They are now evacuating to Jordan. My oldest son and his wife and her brother have all been here this past week. They've been trying to leave, but the flights are canceled and being rescheduled. So that's just a little bit of a personal way of understanding. The airport isn't closed, but major airlines are canceling their flights because of the risk. There's been more than 3,400 rockets fired from the Gaza Strip at Israel in the last 72 hours. The Iron Dome system is, knocking down a lot of them. But it is a scale of war that we just haven't seen probably since 1973, when Egypt and Syria invaded on our highest holy day in the Jewish calendar, Yom Kippur. That, of course, became known as the Yom Kippur War. And terrifying, Jenna, because it's not just rockets and missiles flying at us, but it's also the fact that Israel was just a colossal intelligence failure. The Israeli government, the Israeli military just did not see this coming. So badly were they prepared, or really unprepared, that they didn't have lots of combat soldiers along that border because it was a Jewish series of holidays. They just sent most people home, and they didn't see what was coming. And so hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of bloodthirsty Hamas terrorists blew up our border wall between Israel and Gaza, and then came storming into farms, villages, small towns, shooting, stabbing, killing everybody they could find. And those that they didn't kill, they captured and kidnapped and took back to Gaza. So why are they doing it? They're doing it because they are funded, armed, and directed by the terrorist regime in Iran. The terrorist regime in Iran that is just got $6 billion from the Biden administration. Why? Because the Biden administration wanted to get 5 hostages, American Iranian dual citizen hostages, back. Well, we traded Iranian hostages for those hostages. Why did the Biden administration give Iran's regime $6 billion? When you pay for terrorism, you get more. And that's what we're getting right now. Israel is paying the price for Biden's horrific blunders.
And Joel Rosenberg, this is just another tragedy in the column of Biden's failed leadership. And it is absolutely devastating for everyone in Israel, and a failure of intelligence. And speaking of how Israel missed their intelligence, the former DNI, John Radcliffe, who was there during President Trump's administration, I actually got to know him really well through my work with the administration and the campaign side. And he said this last night to Trey Gowdy on Fox News about Israel's missed intelligence. And I want to get your response to this. So this is cut 1.
How does a country known for its intelligence, the Mossad, known for its intelligence, how does it get caught off guard?
Well, Trey, it's a broader question than just why did Israel and Mossad miss this, but why did U.S. intelligence miss it as well? Both countries have acknowledged an element of surprise to this attack, and both are looking at, whether this is an issue of is there a blind spot in encrypted communications? Did Hamas change their operational security measures so they were able to communicate in a way that our intelligence, both the U.S. and Israeli intelligence, didn't pick up that we did previously? Or is this a situation where the intelligence was there and it was in plain sight? There's been a lot of open source reporting about meetings between, Quds Force General Khani with Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad back in April, and the Iranian president meeting with those same groups in Syria in April. But to your point, Trey, one of the things, I spoke with one of my former counterparts in the Mossad yesterday, and, as the U.S. relationship with Israel has changed from the Trump administration to the Biden administration, and the Biden administration has spent time courting Iran and negotiating with Iran, and at times pleading with Iran, and certainly enriching Iran, the intelligence relationship between the U.S. and Israel has changed as well. And there's an element where, it may be that we're not sharing information as much as we were in the past because of an element of mistrust that the U.S. is, siding with Iran more than Israel is comfortable with.
So, Joel Rosenberg, your response?
Well, there's no question that President Biden's decision to give $6 billion to a terrorist regime was not only foolish, but you get what you pay for. When you give terrorists money, they're going to spend it on more terrorism. And that's not rocket science, although, and no pun intended, I shouldn't say it that way, I guess, given that we're under siege with a rocket fire. Now, that being said, look, as critical as I am of the Biden administration for what I just told you, it's Israel's intelligence failure alone. It's our job to know what's happening in our backyard. And I think what's happened is that the Israeli government got lulled into a false sense of security because we keep making peace treaties with our Arab neighbors, right? Under President Trump, God bless him, 4 new Arab-Israeli peace treaties, the Abraham Accords, and now we thought we were within weeks or months of a massive, game-changing new peace treaty with Saudi Arabia, and I hope we still are. But just because we are at peace with more and more Arab countries doesn't mean our enemies don't hate us. And Iran is the main enemy that wants to wipe us off the planet, annihilate us, liquidate us, commit genocide. They're honest about that. And who are they funding, arming, training, and directing? It's terror organizations like Hamas in Gaza, but also the Hezbollah movement in Lebanon and the Houthis in Yemen. I guess, Jenna, if you want to start a pro-Iranian, anti-Israel terrorist organization and get funding from Iran, you just have to start your organization with an H, right? Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis. But so we understand that. But for Israel to let our guard down and not have combat soldiers on that border, not have enough intelligence assets in place, I could go into more detail, but it's probably more than your American listeners can absorb at the moment. But the point is, this is our failure, okay? And there will be time for recriminations, investigations. There'll be a political blowback here. But right now, Israel can't afford to have a fight amongst ourselves. Hamas has accomplished what Netanyahu couldn't. They have unified the country, right? We had hundreds of thousands of people protesting the Netanyahu government for the last 40 weeks, but that has all ended. Even the opposition leaders are now standing with Netanyahu, saying they are even willing to join the government during the fight, because we're about to go into a massive war with Hamas in Gaza, and the situation could go from bad to worse. We're doing course coverage minute by minute, hour by hour at allisrael.com. That's our news site, All Israel News. That's what we call it. And we're trying to help people understand what's happening from multiple angles. But Biden he really has to completely change his policy towards Iran, because he's funding and encouraging the wrong people. But ultimately, tactically, this is Israel's failure.
And what does a declaration of war do ultimately to the political landscape in terms of the potential peace talks? And just before you answer that question, I just got this in breaking news that at least 9 Americans were killed in the Israel war, according to the United States State Department. So Secretary of State Tony Blinken just announced that there were 9 Americans at least that were killed in the Israel war. So that does, I think, involve the United States a little bit more in terms of our response. And of course, we're continuing to monitor Congress and what's going on with the speaker battle there. But Joel Rosenberg, editor-in-chief of All Israel News, in terms of the declaration of war by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, what does that do ultimately with the ongoing peace talks in terms of the political landscape?
Well, it complicates them. That's the simple answer. What is Hamas's goal? That's the key thing to ask. Hamas is trying to lure Israel into a ground invasion of the Gaza Strip. Now, let me make a couple notes. One, Israel does not occupy the Gaza Strip. Israel withdrew all of our people and all of our soldiers from Gaza and gave the entire territory back to the Palestinian people for them to run it and then govern themselves back in 2005. Okay, so we're almost coming up on 20 years where Israel hasn't occupied Gaza at all. That's important. So what is Hamas trying to do? Hamas is trying to lure us into a ground war in Gaza. Why? Because it's going to be bloody. It's urban warfare, and it's street to street, apartment to apartment, building to building. They've got traps. They've got booby traps. They've got landmines, right? It's going to be very slow going if you run a normal, conventional ground war. Why do they want that? Obviously, we will win because we're much larger and much more, technologically savvy, and it's our civilization on the line. Why would Hamas pick a fight with a much larger ground force? Because they want Palestinians to die. Yes, they want to kill Jews. They want to kill Israelis. But Hamas wants Palestinians to die in large numbers. Not that we will try to do that, but there will be collateral damage, right? Because you're going into an urban environment, right? It happened in Fallujah. It happened in Baghdad. It happened in Ramadi. It happened in Kabul. ground wars are painful and messy. They're not surgical and they're not precise. Now, why does Hamas, the head of the Palestinians in Gaza, why do they want Palestinians to die? Because they want television images on CBS, NBC, MSNBC, BBC, Al Jazeera to flip the story. Right now, the world is sympathetic to Israel, right? We've been attacked. We've got Israelis dying. People are shocked. Even the NBA put out a statement in solidarity of Israel. That's going to change. We know it. What Hamas wants is to blow up the peace process with Saudi, and they want all the other Arab countries to leave it because they're going to say, you can't make peace with monsters. The Israelis are monsters, and you have to stop them. It's Hamas who's the monsters, but we have a very difficult game ahead of us. Not game, I mean, it's a very difficult road ahead of us. Netanyahu has to navigate. How do you win the war? How do you protect Israeli lives? How do you bring justice to the terrorists without creating a whole new problem where everybody in the world will condemn us and isolate us, even Biden? Remember,
and we'll take a break right there, Joel Rosenberg, and we'll get more of his commentary on the other side of the break. We were talking about Israel and this cruel attack. We'll be right back with more here on Jenna Ellis in the Morning. With inflation, the banking world collapse, and everything that Joe Biden is doing not to protect America, you need to make sure to secure your financial health, especially in retirement. And hey, if you're a millennial like me, that actually is sooner than you think. You need to start now, even if you are a millennial or a Gen Zer, to make sure that your financial health is actually healthy when we get to retirement. And Legacy Precious Metals has a revolutionary new online platform that allows you to invest in gold and silver online in real time. In a few easy steps, you can open an account online, select your metals of choice, and choose to have them stored in a vault or shipped right to your door. You'll have access to a dashboard where you can track your portfolio growth in real time anytime. You'll see transparent pricing on each coin and bar, and this puts you in complete control of your money. The platform is free to sign up for. Visit legacypminvestments.com and open your account and see this new investing platform for yourself. Gold hedges against inflation and against a volatile stock market. A truly diversified portfolio isn't just more stocks and bonds, but different asset classes. This brand new platform allows you to make investments in gold and silver, no matter how small or large, with just a few clicks. Visit legacypm.com to get started. You can download the free investor's guide, and you can also call Legacy PM Investments to talk to a portfolio expert to get expert answers to to customize your personal portfolio. So visit legacypminvestments.com to get started. Tell them that Jenna sent you. Welcome back, and I am so grateful that our good friend Joel Rosenberg is here with us for a long time on the program this morning so that we can do a deep dive into what is going on in Israel and the response in terms of the formal declaration of war and also the United States response, or right now kind of lack of response. And so Joel Rosenberg, I also saw this exchange that you had on social media with our friend Joel Pollack, who is also Jewish, who is an editor at Breitbart. He's been on the show a number of times as well. He said, "I have broken the Sabbath and Jewish holiday to deliver this message. Israel should wipe out Gaza, allow 48 hours to evacuate women, children, and the elderly, destroy everything that remains, plow it under, and annex it to Israel. This is the end for Hamas and Palestinian terror." And you responded, "Are you crazy? I am an Israeli. I want my country to defeat Hamas, reestablish security, and liberate our hostages. But genocide is not the answer." Joel Pollack, 2 million Palestinians live in the Gaza Strip. They are also suffering under Hamas's reign of terror. So this response, I mean, I think this goes into what you were saying before the break, that this would just kind of play into the whole overall political landscape. And so how are you seeing the Jews around the world responding to this, and what is the best strategic move at this point for Israel and for the United States, if and when we get a speaker, can provide aid packages, et cetera, in terms of the next steps forward to deal with this?
Yeah, those are a good set of great questions, Jenna. Let me break them out again, piece by piece. First, yes, we need a Speaker of the House in Washington because we absolutely need an aid package. What we need is to be able to we need to build, hundreds of thousands of more rocket interceptors immediately, right? Iron Dome interceptors, because we're under siege here, and so we need more. And the United States is our great ally, and we're super, super grateful. We're not asking for American ground troops. We're asking for help. So that we can, so we can fight the war ourselves. But our deal with America is that we invented the Iron Dome, but America funds it and builds it. So fine, but we need them to do that quickly. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, look, I understand the emotion that Joel Pollack and others have. Right? It's the same emotion after 9/11 when you say, well, if take Al Qaeda in Iraq or in Afghanistan and let's just nuke them. Let's just nuke the whole country and turn it into glass. That's emotion, that's rage, that's revenge. I get it. It's just, it's not a policy. You can't just kill 2 million people, or let's say, you're going to get rid of the women and children. Where are they going to go? Like the Gaza Strip is the most densely populated place on the planet. To their west, it's the Mediterranean. To their east, it's Israel. To their north, it's Israel, and to the south, it's Egypt. So Egypt doesn't want a million or 1.5 million Palestinians rushing into the Sinai, and Israel's fighting the war right now on the east and north. So there's no place to evacuate innocent civilians. They are not under Israeli occupation in Gaza. Those poor Palestinians are under Hamas occupation. So you can't just say we're going to just kill everything that we see in Gaza. Not only would that be immoral, as a Jew, as a Christian, I can't imagine what faith you could possibly have in which that was a good thing. It's not. Genocide's never good. But also it would end Israel's moral superiority. We have the moral high ground. We've been hit, but look, as bad as it is, as emotionally painful as it is, we are resilient. We've been going through this for 4,000 years. We've certainly been going through it as Israelis for 75 years. I've only been an Israeli for 9 years, and I've been through 3 wars. So we're resilient, and by the grace of God, we're going to win. But we have to win smart, okay? It doesn't make sense to just start shooting everything we see.
And I think that type of foreign policy is wise to say, let's not just start shooting everything that we see. And turning, Joel Rosenberg, to the Christian response and understanding this through a biblical lens, of course, with the support that every Christian should have for the nation of Israel, for the people of God, and for this particular promised land. There's a lot of commentary about whether we are seeing Ezekiel 37 and 37 play out, or 37 and 38 play out, and the end times in terms of biblical prophecy. I know you've written extensively on these types of topics. What do you make as a Christian of what's going on in Israel, and contrasting that and comparing it with what we see in terms of biblical prophecy?
Sure. Well, several points. First, I would say that, yes, I want to make it clear, and I hope you've heard it in what I've been saying to you this morning, Jenna, which is God commands us to love Israel and to pray for the peace of Jerusalem and stand with Israel. There's no question that God loves Israel and the Jewish people and has a special place in the world and in his heart for us. But he also commands us to love our neighbors, right? And that was true in the Old Testament. Jesus commands it in the New Testament, and Jesus practiced it. So what does that mean for us? It means we need to have compassion on the Palestinians who are under the reign of terror of Hamas. It's not just Israelis who are suffering. Palestinians are suffering, okay? So that's why we have to have not an either-or approach as Christians towards the Arab-Israeli conflict. We have to have a both and. Yes, Israel has the right to live here, and God gave us this land, and He loves us. But we also have to love and compassion for the neighbors. That's why I started 2 news sites 3 years ago: All Israel News and All Arab News. They're interlinked, they're interconnected, but we've got Israeli, Jewish, and Palestinian, and Lebanese, and American, of course, journalists and team members working with us, because we're covering both sides at the same time, fairly and honestly, when most of the media normally doesn't cover it. And when they do, they cover Israel with a tremendous bias against us, as though it's always our fault. And you watch, Jenna, you'll probably have me on in another couple of days, and I'll start pointing out specific examples of how American mainstream media is making it look like our fault. So that's coming. We just know that. The other thing is, and so we very much appreciate people coming to All Israel News. You can find it at allisrael.com. You can sign up for our free daily email newsletter, so that the headlines just come straight to you. You can certainly follow me, on Twitter or on Instagram. And we also could use financial support right now. We're small compared to, remember CNN when they started their digital, they wasted $300 million in a month. We don't have those resources, but we're providing a good service here. But also, how do you actually care for people? Humanitarian relief, strengthening Christians on the ground, Messianic Jews, Israeli and Arab evangelicals, so they can be strong and care for their neighbors. So 17 years ago, my wife and I started a ministry called the Joshua Fund. People can find it at joshuafund.com. And over the last 17 years, we've raised and invested more than $100 million, or almost $100 million, in humanitarian relief, caring for Jews and Arabs, Israelis and Palestinians, and strengthening the church here. So that's a great way to practically say, how can I make a difference right now? One is to help us do fair, honest, accurate journalism, but also caring for the poor and needy and those who are suffering, both with All Israel News and the Joshua Fund.
Great. And I always appreciate your commentary and your ministry, Joel Rosenberg. I subscribe to All Israel News and follow you on social media. And of course, I'm always really grateful when you can come on the program to give us the perspective that you have that is, of course, not the mainstream media, and so that we can trust your reporting and the perspective from a biblical worldview as well. And so for people who want to continue to pray for Israel and who are, like me, just watching this, feeling like, this is going on the other side of the world compared to where we are at in the United States. We're seeing that Congress is not even in session to help provide aid or anything else. How can Christians best pray for Israel at this time?
Well, thank you. And again, we're providing those types of updates at both All Israel News and the Joshua Fund. But the short version for you and your listeners, and thank you for subscribing to us and letting me have a voice to your audience, which I so appreciate. The best way to pray is knowledgeably, right? So yes, of course you want to pray for healing for the 2,200 Israelis that are wounded, and of course the many thousands of Palestinians who are wounded. Comfort and emotional and spiritual healing for the family and friends of those who've lost loved ones just in the last 72 hours. You can pray for the leaders of Israel to have wisdom. They need miraculous help from God with intelligence and wisdom to know just how to fight this war and win as quickly and painlessly as possible, painfully as possible, right? We don't want this to spin out of control. It feels out of control right now. We need to pray that God would kill or convert the radical Islamists who are running Hamas, change them, take them out, make them surrender, right? God has done this all throughout the Bible. Israel always wins. But sometimes we win when we're walking with God and following Him humbly, and sometimes He lets us lose for a while to get our attention. And that is what was true in the Bible, in the Old Testament and New, is true today. We need to humble ourselves, right? This famous verse is 2 Chronicles 7:14, where God is saying to King Solomon, the king of Israel, when he asked, well, what happens when we turn away from you or drift away from you and you let us lose in a war or get beaten up badly or a famine or a pandemic or a plague or whatever? And God says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and turn from their wicked ways and seek my face, then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sins and I will heal their land. And this is ultimately what we need to do. And I say that not just as a Jew, but as a Jewish Israeli evangelical who believes that Jesus is our Messiah and he is our hope. And we need to turn to him now more than ever.
So well said. And that is also a great admonition for the United States of America as well, that we also need to humble ourselves and turn back to the Lord. And we're seeing so much that's going on in the United States that is just horrible. I mean, everything that we normally talk about on this show, from the LGBTQ agenda to, the Biden regime to the progressive leftist agenda. I mean, all of those things that are just really inherently evil because they are not founded in truth. And so if you are not continuing policy and civil government that is aligned with the person of God who is truth, then that necessarily means that it is antithetical to truth. It's false and it's therefore evil. And so, I mean, you can only have one or the other. And so that is a great admonition, Joel Rosenberg, to everyone who is listening, regardless of our nation or our political heritage. We need to be focused on our spiritual heritage and incorporate that into our civil government, which is what the founders of the United States understood when they birthed a Christian nation that did respect Israel, and we have continued that in our heritage. So in just the last few minutes that I have with you, Joel Rosenberg, and I so appreciate your time, and we'll definitely have you back on to provide updates, and everyone can go to allisraelnews.com for that. Follow Joel Rosenberg on social media as well for updates. This is kind of the lawyer question in me, but is there anything that I haven't asked you that would be good and helpful for our listeners to know? Because I always learn so much from you. And even though I have a lot of questions, there are things, of course, that sometimes we don't get to that would be great for our listeners to know.
Well, I think one of those, maybe one particular thing, is to understand that at least 100 Israelis, men, women, children, babies, have been captured, kidnapped by Hamas terrorists and taken into Gaza. Today I saw social media of toddlers in cages. Jewish Israeli toddlers have been put in dog cages in Gaza by Hamas, and God only knows, honestly, if these people are going to see the light of day. We are grieving so badly. Think about it, 444 days of 52 American hostages held in Iran in 1979, and thank God, ultimately they were released. But we've got twice that number, including small children and babies, being held by people that really are the same religious and psychological profile as ISIS. Right? These are people that shoot a child in front of their mother, shoot the mother in front of the child, chop people's heads off, burn people alive. That's the demonic mindset we're up against, and it is winner take all. And so that number of 100 might help people just understand 100 Israelis, including babies and children, young children, in cages, waiting, having no idea if there's hope for tomorrow. And
we will be praying. Yes, we will be praying for you, for them, for Israel. Joel Rosenberg, you can follow him at Joel C. Rosenberg on social media, also at All Israel News. Thank you so much for your update. We will be praying for you in the days and weeks ahead. So that's all the time we have this morning for Jenna Ellis in the Morning. You can always reach me and my team, Jenna at afr.net.
With inflation, the banking world collapse, and everything that Joe Biden is doing not to protect America, you need to make sure to secure your financial health, especially in retirement. And hey, if you're a millennial like me, that actually is sooner than you think. You need to start now, even if you are a millennial or a Gen Zer, to make sure that your financial health is actually healthy when we get to retirement. And Legacy Precious Metals has a revolutionary new online platform that allows you to invest in gold and silver online in real time. In a few easy steps, you can open an account online, select your metals of choice, and choose to have them stored in a vault or shipped right to your door. You'll have access to a dashboard where you can track your portfolio growth in real time anytime. You'll see transparent pricing on each coin and bar, and this puts you in complete control of your money. The platform is free to sign up for. Visit legacypminvestments.com and open your account and see this new investing platform for yourself. Gold hedges against inflation and against a volatile stock market. A truly diversified portfolio isn't just more stocks and bonds, but different asset classes. This brand new platform allows you to make investments in gold and silver, no matter how small or large, with just a few clicks. Visit legacypm.com to get started. You can download the free investor's guide, and you can also call Legacy PM Investments to talk to a portfolio expert to get expert answers to your to customize your personal portfolio. So visit legacypminvestments.com to get started. Tell them that Jenna sent you.
On MyPillow's 20-year anniversary with over 80 million MyPillows sold, Mike Lindell wants to thank each and every one of you by giving you the lowest price in history on his MyPillows. You will receive a queen-size MyPillow for only $19.98. The regular price is $69.98 and just $10 more for a king size. You'll receive deep discounts on all MyPillow products such as bed sheets, mattress toppers, pet beds, mattresses, my slippers, which I love, and so much more. This is the time to try out some of the amazing products you've had your eye on from MyPillow. So go to mypillow.com and enter promo code Jenna to receive this amazing offer on the queen size MyPillow for $19.98. You can go to mypillow.com or call 1-800-564-8475. Be sure to use the promo code Jenna. This offer comes with a 10-year warranty and a 60-day money-back guarantee. It's time to start getting the quality sleep you deserve. This offer comes with a 10-year warranty and a 60-day money-back guarantee. It's time to start getting the quality sleep you deserve. Go to mypillow.com, use the promo code Jenna.
When the government used emergency edicts during COVID to restrict the gathering and worship of churches, 3 pastors facing the risk of imprisonment, unlimited fines, and their own churches being ripped apart, took a courageous stand and reopened their doors in the face of a world that chose to comply. The Essential Church is a feature-length documentary that explores the struggle between the church and government throughout history. This fascinating story uncovers those who've sacrificed their lives throughout history for what they truly believe in. Rediscover why the church is essential and how we prove that this stand remains true from a scientific, legal, and most importantly, biblical perspective. This is not your typical movie. It'll change your life. You need to see this movie with your friends and family. The Essential Church is streaming today exclusively at salemnow.com. That's Essential Church, streaming at salemnow.com.